All right, and we're back. Marsh, Dylan, Denmark. We're back here. Denmark and Marsh. Graham, you've been taking a 6-week hiatus. You need to explain to people what you have been doing other than claiming that you left 1010XL to do another job.
That's right. The rumors are true. Those of you that follow me on Twitter probably know, but if you don't, you may not know. I did leave the radio station about almost 2 months ago now, pretty much 2 months ago now. Love the radio station, love 1010XL, love everybody there. Don't have a single bad word to say about it. Other than Dylan's ugly. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, took a different job just because it was kind of the right time for me at my career. And just made sense for where I'm at in my life and kind of where I wanted to go. So just kind of, right time to strike for a new opportunity. So that's why we won't be on 1010XL's platforms moving forward, since I'm not there anymore. But in terms of the viewership for this show, nothing's really changing or anything. And again, obviously Dylan and I are still very close and very good friends, and I still keep up with a lot of the 1010 people. Nothing negative to say about them whatsoever. But just took the job that I felt like was the right time for me. But we wanted to keep the podcast rolling, so here we are, baby. We're back.
Now, this is an important thing that we need to talk about before we go talk about the Gators and everything like that. You are now in the corporate world.
That's right.
Now, when people approach you, we may go to a Gator game or two. I don't have any tickets yet for the Gator game. FYI, I didn't get my season tickets this year. I don't think I'll talk to you. I've had the alumni tickets the last 4 years. That alumni window has closed because you get this for 4 years after you graduate.
Because we're old, bro. We're washed.
We're cracking 30 almost, which is devastating. Anyway, when people see you in public now, what pronouns do you go by? I think people want to know, what pronouns do you go by now that you're in the corporate world?
Yeah.
What should they call you? Because, I don't want to get anybody offended, just
out there. My pronouns are DJ and Lagway.
Okay. That's good. So just call you DJ Lagway when you see you at a tailgate or, making a couple sales.
Exactly.
You may see them on the west side.
That's right. That's right.
Or Normandy Boulevard.
That's right. That's right. My people.
Graham, you would not know what to do on the west side, man. You wouldn't know what to do on Land Avenue or Cassett.
Yes, I don't. Whenever I'm there, I'm like, I don't belong here.
The place I call home.
Private school for this.
Yeah, the place I call home. You think you're in Iraq. Graham, let's get to the Gators real quick. I know polls have been coming out. I think Florida was 17th in the coaches poll. They're cracking the top 15 in the AP, which I don't even know how many people are in the AP, the Associated Press. I think it's closer to 50 people. They all vote. Preseason poll, I really don't take a lot of stock into a preseason poll. It's just something that, for us to talk about like we're about to do. Florida's 15. I mean, any poll that you see, whether it be Athlon or Lindy's or any preseason magazine, Phil Steele's one of those as well. They have Florida mid to late teens. The people that are lower on Florida, the lower 20s. I think Florida should be right there, mid to late teens with the talent that they have. I always say everybody's going to talk about the schedule and how tough that is. But I mean, I think Florida's right there. They should be 15 going into LSU. I'm sure a couple of teams are going to lose, and Florida be right outside the top 10. And, that's where Florida season is going to start week 3 when they play at LSU.
This is about the furthest back they could be without me having a problem with it. I think between 10 to 15 was about right for them for preseason, in my opinion. If they were north of 15, if they were like 17, 18, I would think that's too low. With what a lot of people deem to be potentially the best quarterback in college football this year. If you think it's Arch Manning or Garrett Nussmeier or somebody else, then at least assuming health for DJ Lagway, most people aren't going to argue with you that he's at least top 3 to 4 at worst. Basically, the entire offensive line returning, both running backs from last year returning, all the talent you've added at wide receiver, and then just the talent you're bringing back on in general, what you're bringing back, and then pairing it with DJ Lagway and the potential that he has this year. I don't know that you could have put them worse than 15. That said, we all have eyes and we all have memories. So we all watched the Miami game. We all watched the Texas A&M. We watched the LSU game too, and the Ole Miss game too. But we've seen Billy Napier fall flat on his face with expectations. We've seen it. We've seen it in real time. It's happened. So I can't be too upset about 15. If like I said, if it was like 17, 18, I might be having more of a problem with it. But I understand why they're not 8th. You get what I'm saying? Like,
that's
the end of 15, I think is perfectly fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they last year, the way how they started and the way they ended, everybody thinks that, you know, the way that you end in November, that positive momentum carries to the next season. Yeah, that's a bunch of hogwash, man. I know fans want to look at that.
Hogwash.
And, you know,
I didn't know that word.
You never heard that word?
No, I've heard it. I just didn't expect it to come up in the podcast.
It just doesn't, you know, off-season momentum doesn't mean anything. Everybody's 0-0 right now. What happened in November? Yes, it's good that it happened. You know, and you got to see guys play. You know, that you didn't see when, like, Florida, you know, especially in the secondary. You know, guys like Asa Turner and a couple other guys in that secondary when they played against Miami. But, you know, none of that means anything now moving forward. You're 0-0 and you got a clean slate.
Yeah, which is a good and bad thing, right? You're 0-0 and have a clean slate so that you can put that Miami game behind you. You can put that Texas A&M game behind you. But that also means you have to put LSU and Ole Miss behind you, right? So that also means you have to put a quarter and a half against Georgia before DJ Lagway got hurt behind you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, you don't get to take credit for that anymore, right?
Yeah. Everybody,
and,
you know, they die.
Yeah, exactly.
And Lagway didn't get hurt against Georgia. What they wanted.
And the biggest thing, Dylan, to me is like, I've fallen victim to this 100 times, and I'm sure a lot of people have too. It's a new season for the Gators. It's a new season for everybody else too, right? Like we do this every year in college football and the NFL, but college football probably even more so. When you go through the schedule, because we sit here and we talk and think about the Gators all the time and the changes they're making and what's going on here, what's going on there, the development of DJ Lagway. Are these new freshman receivers going to play? Will Jaden Ball be one of, if not the best running back in the country? All this defensive talent. Like we think about the evolution of the Gators. So we think that they were here last year and we're expecting them to be here this year, right? But we're kind of naturally think that, expecting everybody else to stay the same. It's other teams, especially in the SEC, getting better too.
Well, and another thing is you always expect whatever you have from your guys a year ago, you expect everyone to improve to the following year. And it's not always.
And stay healthy too, Dylan.
Yeah, that too.
Like, okay,
that's a big question with Lagway.
You know, yeah, with Lagway, it's the obvious. Like, he's the obvious one, right? But, like, I even think, you know, Tyreek Sapp, Caleb Banks, like, getting those guys back was huge.
Pop Howard.
Knock on wood, do whatever you got to do. Like, obviously, we're hoping for a healthy and incredible season from both of those guys. The nature of a football schedule in the SEC will tell you that one of, if not both of those guys, are going to get nicked up at some point. It doesn't mean they're going to miss games or who knows. But you get what I'm trying to say? It's just like you just don't get to have the security of anything in the world of college football. So, like, there's a lot of luck involved. That said, I do think, Dylan, tell me if you disagree. This is not just the most talented team Billy Napier is starting a season with. This is probably the most talented roster, top to bottom, that Florida's had since what, like 2015 maybe, when they had all those dudes on defense and Will Grier before he got in trouble. I would say probably 2015. I was thinking before we hopped on today, I was kind of thinking in my head, I'm like, man, like they haven't had this much talent on both sides of the ball in depth in quite some time.
Yeah, I know that the 2020 team sticks out because you had, the offense was loaded, but the defense was not there.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So, like, I would say 2020 probably top end talent. Well,
Mhm.
if DJ Lagway, wins a Heisman or something, that's obviously going to change. But that team with Trask, they didn't go to New York that year because of COVID, but going to New York, Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney, like top end talent, that team was maybe even more talented than this team. But correct, you're right. They were not well rounded, and there wasn't a lot of depth. Like even on offense, like they had good play, but like who are the running back? You had Dameon Pierce on that team, who's good. I think Jaden Ball can be better than Dameon Pierce,
Yeah,
right?
I think most fans agree with that too.
And then the receivers, I mean, Tony was great, and Kyle Pitts was effectively a wide receiver, but like past that, I like the depth on this. If one of those two freshmen, if not both, assuming health, are going to contribute between Vernell Brown III and Dallas Wilson. The depth on that team is better than what that team had, even just on offense, and definitely don't even get me started on defense because that was a pitiful Florida
Now,
defense.
granted, the thing was everybody's defense was bad that year, but Florida's was worse than everybody else's, which didn't make it any better. Because you couldn't tackle, you couldn't have any contact during that COVID process.
Right, exactly. So what do you think? Is it since 2015 that they've had this much talent top to bottom?
Yeah, because none of the Dan Mullins teams had talent top to bottom. Definitely Napier's best. Rossley has this year. Yeah, you got to go back about 10 years, man. And look at, all the guys that were drafted on that defense, at all levels. It wasn't just, the D line, Taven Bryan being one of them. I'm trying to think of those 2015 guys because, I'm immediately going to 2012 when we had Elam and Sharif Floyd and those guys, but those guys were obviously gone because they were drafted in 12, 13. But yeah, it's been a long time to your point. It's been a while. And, for the longest time, when you're playing one of the better teams, when you're playing against an Alabama or an LSU, when LSU's good like they were in 2019, you felt like Florida was always kind of a step behind. They couldn't go band for band with the best teams. I feel like with this team now, they can at least go band for band. Texas, I'm still feeling a little bit like Texas is still like one step ahead, but it's not like, it's unbearable.
If you were to say, all right, Dylan and Graham, take Florida's schedule and point out if you see any teams that could overwhelm Florida with talent. Texas is the only team that I would maybe, but in the swamp, I don't know that if they lose, I think they'll lose because Texas is better.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it'll be like there have been games over the last couple of years, a lot of the Florida-Georgia games in the Mullen era and early Napier era come to mind where it's like, man, like these two teams don't belong on the same football field. And I no longer think that will be the case in any game they play. Which, look, you and I have fired Billy Napier on this show 100 times at this point. But when he was hired, when Dan Mullen was fired, walking off the field against Missouri when they lost that overtime game in Missouri, remember that? When Emory Jones didn't get the 2-point conversion? And Dan Mullen was fired, I believe, the next day. And they sought out to find a new football coach. Was this not the main goal with the next person they hired? We all said it. We're all like, they need better players, top to bottom. Did we say that, yes or no?
Yeah, it was the number one thing. Anytime you fire a coach, there are reasons, and then you hire your next coach to do the things that the previous coach couldn't do well. And the number one thing that Dan Mullen didn't do well was recruiting. And Napier's done that.
And I'm not saying that to excuse any mistakes Billy Napier has made. If they had, you and I have both said this, and we agree, and we've gotten this on record multiple times on this podcast. If they had fired Billy Napier early last season after the Miami game after week 1, but it was so bad, I still would have understood especially after the A&M game. If they had fired him then, it would have been completely justified. Completely justified. I would have had no issue with it whatsoever. I was calling for them to do it. That said, he has accomplished the goal he was mainly hired to do, which was recruit and get better players. Now that is the case, it's time, bro. I got to see results now. No more excuses. No more he needs time. Nothing. I need results, Dylan Denmark. I need results.
I think, I mean, I hate to put this out there, but like I think it's playoff or bust, man. Because I said this last year, and it's not because of the roster, and it's not like it's all of that. It's the roster. It's he's in year 4. Dude, look at every other team since the playoffs started. I'm going to the 14 playoff. Georgia's been, Tennessee's been the number 1 team in the country. In the month of November a couple of years ago, even though I know they didn't make the playoff that year. Miami was 10 at one point. Miami's twice been right at the cusp in the first week of December of making the playoff or not. Twice. And then you can look at a couple other teams. You got Florida State that went undefeated twice, in the last 12 years. And Florida has not been anywhere near that playoff bubble. And I mean, that's where everybody's going to be their measuring stick now moving forward. Like, it's going to be now that we're going to be the 12 team this year, and then we still don't know, next year moving on, if it's going to be 14 or 16, probably be 16 because everybody else can get more money. You've got to make the playoff. And if you don't make the playoff, I think it's going to be a disappointing year. And I think that's how it is going to be every year for every good team moving forward.
So, okay, so if I heard you correctly, you just said that in this 12-team format this year, if Florida doesn't make the playoff, it's a disappointing year.
It kind of feels that way.
If Florida doesn't make the playoff, should Billy Napier lose his job?
If you're 8-4, I mean, it's all the variables. Because if you're 8-4 and you miss out on the playoff and you lose to, just say 4 playoff teams: Texas, Georgia, LSU, and Miami, you have something. You have a leg to stand on. If you're the AD and Scott Strickland, and if you want to make a decision. But that's how I look at it, because I'm looking at it. Florida, I think you should beat Miami this year, and then you have the 3 games that are going to come down to your season. It's going to be LSU, Georgia, and Texas.
There's a few more that are going to tell a decent part of the story too, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this is the best shot they've had to beat Georgia since they did in 2020. That's not me saying they have to win, but that's me saying that I'm going into that game expecting them to be competitive, if not win. It's not David Goliath anymore.
It's not just no longer a double-digit, spread where you're like, geez, we need a couple of breaks to win this game, or be in at least.
And then here's the other thing. I think when we have these conversations before the season, and then if we were to have the conversation after the season, say like a month or 2 removed, we have the benefit of perspective to look at it from 10,000 feet. In season, we don't have that advantage. We can only see and react on what we're seeing right in front of us at that point in time. And the reason I say that is I tend to agree with you that I don't know that 8-4 would be grounds to fire Billy Napier necessarily. I think 8-4 with this schedule would be a decent season. That said, I'm just picturing in my head how they get to 8-4. And there's a very real world where they could be, maybe they beat LSU on the road. Maybe they beat Miami on the road. And then, say they lose to Texas, maybe lose to and what have you. And they got like 2 losses heading into the final 2 to 3 weeks of the year. the way they could end up at 8-4 is they could lose to Tennessee at home to get knocked out of playoff contention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right now we're saying, 8-4, decent. Okay. I guarantee you that podcast post game, if they lose to Tennessee in the Swamp, you and I probably won't have that kind of perspective. You get what I'm saying?
No, 100%.
And neither would anybody listening.
No, yeah. I mean, expectations change daily. And, the week 3 pod that we did right after the 8 a.m. game, and if you said the team goes 7-5, you take that and you run with it to the bank, and you don't even have a second thought. You go, I don't care who they beat. I don't care who they lose to. I'm taking 7-5 because we were all thinking that this team's going to win 3 games, and everybody was going to have pitchforks outside of Ben Hill Griffin Stadium to fire Billy Napier. And here's the thing: if this were 5 years ago, Billy Napier probably would have been fired after the Texas A&M game. But things have changed with the NIL and the boosters and the collective to where you have to pay kids and you have to allocate money to everything else now. It's not just the coach and just facilities anymore. I heard Josh Pate talking about this the other day. Every SEC coach was brought back this year. Did every SEC coach have a great year?
That's crazy.
No. Every SEC coach is returning. And now it's not going to be like that next year.
I didn't even know. That's a crazy stat. That never happens.
No, never.
Every single coach was, I guess you're right. Every single coach. That's crazy.
Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. Sam Pittman at Arkansas got brought back. Lane Kiffin at Mississippi. Venables at Oklahoma. Every SEC coach is because there's just not, colleges, they don't have a money issue. They have a spending issue. Yeah. And they, with buyouts and you having to pay players now, with the collective, because that was the first thing after the A&M game. They, all the collectives, the Gator collectives got together. They said, we can stir up enough money to get this buyout, and then it changed.
So I still can't get over that stat that every SEC coach is robbed in an expanded SEC.
So, yeah.
That's insane. And because you think about how many coaches entered the year on the hot seat. I mean, Billy Napier was on the hot seat. Sam Pittman was on the hot seat. His name's escaping me. I just forgot. Who else on the hot seat last year? There was somebody. South Carolina coach. Shane Beamer.
Yes, I could think of
like that. That's wild. Wow. Even Mark Stoops has had a couple of. Yeah, after getting Kentucky to a place they haven't seen in a long time is kind of on the, I think, stock down for Kentucky in my. Anyways, Dylan, I wanted to ask you something because I remember us kind of going through this last year before the season, and I guess I maybe didn't learn my lesson from last year because, like you just said, we thought we knew everything we needed to know about Billy Napier in this program after that Texas A&M game. And obviously that ended up not being the case. They obviously picked it up. They obviously had a wonderful end of the season and what have you. But I still want to do this exercise just for the hell of it. Looking through the schedule, where do you see the point on the schedule where it's like, okay, after this game, after this point in time of the year, I'm going to know a lot about this team, good or bad? Do you have a point? Because I have a pretty defining point like that in the schedule, and I'm curious if you have the same one.
All right. When you asked that question, my first thought was Georgia.
Okay.
My mind went straight to Georgia. I know it's probably going to be sooner because by that point, even before you play Georgia, if you're gonna have a really good team or an okay team.
Yeah.
And then the Georgia game, you're gonna come off a bye. And I feel like that is the put up or shut up game. Because if you win that game, I feel you're still in playoff contention if you win that game. Or if things go well and you win a couple games, like if you of the LSU, Miami, Texas, if you can win one of those 3 or 2 of those 3, like you're a serious top 5 contender.
Mm-hmm. So mine is a little bit earlier. And again, maybe I should have learned my lesson with how they came back in the second half of the season last year and started to figure it out. But I think we're going to know close to everything we need to know about this team and what they're made of, good or bad, once they walk off the field in South Florida against Miami. I think because that early, yeah, because you get 2 preseason games basically to warm up the season with Long Island and then USF. First of all, I think USF could tell you a little bit if they should beat their ass and it shouldn't be a game. But we've seen those games get weird and murky, and I can't be head scratching at halftime of the USF game. Then we're going to have real problems. But assuming that goes smoothly, 2 really tough road tests back to back at LSU. A lot of people say that's the toughest place to play in college football. I think it's the Swamp, but even if you think the Swamp is the hardest, you'd probably say LSU is the second. And then you go to a not so tough place to play, but you have to play on the road against Miami after what will probably have been, win or lose, a hard-fought emotional game against LSU. They have to split that at worst. Correct?
Yes. You can't lose to both LSU and Miami. No
you
shot.
Can't. You cannot. If you are 2-2, 4 games into the season, sound the alarm. That is a that's problematic. Right? I mean, you just can't, you got too many other hard games, bro.
Yeah, you don't have many mulligans.
A&M's still on the schedule. Texas still on the schedule. Tennessee's still on the schedule. Georgia's still on the schedule. You can't lose 2 that early. You can't. You cannot have another slow start. You cannot have it. I don't think Billy Napier will survive if they lose both those games. If they win both those games, then we're singing Kumbaya and we're dancing in the streets and everything's wonderful. If you split, then I think you can look at that, and I think they're probably going to split. If you had to gun to your head today, Dylan, you'd probably assume they're going to split between those 2, right?
LSU, Miami, yeah, probably. And I got an LSU thought whenever you wrap up with that.
Yeah, so if you split those games, assuming you at least look, if you get killed in one of the games, then it's a different conversation. But assuming you at least look good in both games and you win one, you lose one, then I think you can pretty fairly evaluate at that point in the year what's ahead of you. You know you'll have a tough road, and you'll be able to say, okay, this team is at least getting close to living up to the type of potential we thought they had. Because at that point, they will have had at least one huge win. Right?
Right.
So then I think that's just kind of like a big, turning point of the schedule, I guess, is the way I want to put this. Is that making sense what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
That's going to be a real temperature taker for, okay, what can we expect when you line it up against Texas?
Yeah.
When you line it up against Georgia. You know what I mean?
Here's where I am with the schedule, and I'm going to just be early. Everyone thinks that Florida should roll in and go to South Florida, or South Florida's coming to us, but just handle business and beat them by 30 and be done. I don't think it's going to be that easy. I mean, we've seen South Florida not even 2 years ago compete with an Alabama team and take them down to the wire. I don't know anything about South Florida. I have no idea who their quarterback is, but I don't think
2022 they should have beaten Florida.
Right.
Their quarterback is still Byron Brown, who's very good.
And I'm not saying it's going to be, down to the wire, but I think fans, and I could be completely wrong, I think fans have the notion that Florida's going to go, I think they still have the notion that, of South Florida from 20 years ago, where it's just they're a team. I know they had a good year in 07, but other than that one year, it's just, Florida's better. They should beat them by 30 and move on. And hopefully that's the case. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think Florida still has to show up and perform and do well to get that, to beat them by 24 or 30. The LSU game, I heard Josh Pate talking about this the other day as well. The one thing Brian Kelly's liked at LSU since he's gotten there is slow starts.
Mm-hmm.
Losing to FSU, losing to USC last year. Remember when they played South Carolina a year ago? Everyone believes that South Carolina got jobbed, and South Carolina should have beaten LSU
with that pick six.
With that pick six, it was it was like week 4, week 5 because LSU played USC last year, and then they played the cream puff Nicholas week 2, and then they went straight into South Carolina, in Columbia. So Florida I think a lot of people have the notion that Florida is going to go to LSU and LSU is the better team. LSU's at home and LSU is going to win that game. If LSU falls to Clemson week 1, which that's who they play in 2 weeks, they go to Clemson. If they don't look well and it's a little rocky, Florida has an excellent shot at going into Death Valley and winning that game.
I think Florida gets a big break in that LSU has to play Clemson before they play the Gators. Whether they win or lose, I think that's advantage Gators. Agree or disagree?
I agree. And that's another thing, too. Nussmeier, he was a little banged up in camp. I mean, typical college football, we don't know anything about any of these teams or anybody with injuries and, how they look until week 1.
Kenny, I feel you. I don't disagree, but to be fair, LSU is probably saying the same thing about DJ Lagway at this point.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, the dude hasn't been healthy at all this offseason, feels like.
Can we, while we're on the topic, can we go ahead and just talk about DJ Lagway?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thoughts?
It's got to be healthy, man. I don't right now. Like the spring, I was not worried about the spring when he got hurt with his shoulder. I was on a panic meter, a scale of 1 to 10. I was the 3. I was like, I think he's fine. Much rather than play spring, but if not, whatever. And then when he came out with a boot the week before camp, I mean, I'm starting to feel like, dude, we haven't played any games since before Christmas, and the guy can't stay healthy. What makes me think that he can stay healthy for all 12 games this year?
Yeah.
Beginning to end.
I think that's fair. I think that's completely fair. This was part of why I was saying I think after the LSU and Miami game, we're going to be able to take a pretty strong temperature of this team because I am worried about that. And I'm not so much worried about his literal health physically. Because, I mean, we saw him play with one. I mean, he beat LSU and Ole Miss with one leg. So, and that's not to say I want him to play with one leg all the time, but we've seen him be able to play even a little bit banged up and still be really damn good. And I expect him to be healthier than that, at least most of the season. That said, Dylan, the part that worries me is a little bit about what you just said. This guy hasn't played any football since December. And it's mostly new receivers. He's got Jaden Ball and Jacoby Jackson that he was used to from last year. But other than and you even think about Eugene Wilson, they only played a couple games together. Yeah, it isn't like Eugene Wilson and DJ Lagway have 2 years of chemistry built up in game, right? Most of Eugene Wilson's production so far has come from Graham Mertz at quarterback. So you look at Eugene Wilson, there's still some chemistry that you want them to put together. J. Michael Sturdivant, they've never played a game together before. Vernell Brown III, Dallas Wilson, they're freshmen. The running game, I feel really good about. So let's put that in a separate bucket for now. I'm just worried about rust more than anything. And I will say this, and I know you're probably going to agree with me, Dylan. Thank God Florida doesn't have a huge kickoff classic or something week 1. With all this stuff that's been going on with the health of multiple guys, but particularly DJ Lagway, I'm really, really happy that they get to start the year with Long Island and USF.
Yeah, playing Miami.
That Clemson week 1 or something, because that would be problematic in my opinion. They need a game or two where they can shake some rust. He can throw the ball deep down the field a couple of times, and they can hopefully get in a nice groove before they have to go to Baton Rouge. Yeah,
playing Miami week 1 this year, I would not feel confident. I feel much more confident playing Miami week 4.
I agree. I totally agree.
And hopefully this is not an issue because
Dylan, what I'm scared about is I'm worried about the excuse train coming back. And I don't mean excuses from fans. I'm not talking about us on Twitter, tweeting out our thoughts and emotions after games, because we'll kill people, and we all know that. I'm talking about Scott Strickland and boosters and the powers that be. Dylan, I'm worried about if they do go 0-2 against LSU and Miami. I'm worried about hearing, DJ Lagway didn't have a full camp and he was rusty and some of these guys are young and LJ McCray was injured and who knows. And Eugene Wilson was hurt for a while and Dallas Wilson got hurt. So they really haven't gotten to, they didn't get a full camp. It's going to take them some time. No, I don't want to hear any of that. And I'm worried that I'm going to if things go a little bit south. You're in year 4, bro. If you can't overcome this stuff, you're not the qualified man for the job.
No, and here's the thing. If Lagway goes down like he did a year ago, dude, you ain't winning against Aiden Warner, quarterback. I mean, it's just
Aiden Warner or Harrison Bailey your best chance probably at that point would be to throw in Tramel Jones and see what he's got.
Yeah, seriously.
But for a game or two, you probably put one of the other guys in if you're just in a pinch. But if you were to lose him for an extended amount of time, hang it up till 2027 and a new coach probably.
Well, and here's the thing, like DJ Lagway, I would not take Arch Manning right now over him. I would not take Klubnik at Clemson over him. Nussbaum. I would not take any other quarterback in the country right now over Lagway.
I agree.
But when you haven't played a game, and it's not like it's not like a linebacker or a running back, the last 9 months for Lagway when you're actually you're actually hitting in the spring or you're thumping, in fall camp. Like, dude, I'm sure, he's had the shoulder issue, since high school. Okay. There's a lot of reports on, if he's going to have surgery, before the season, after the season or whatever. I'm not worried about that. And it might be an issue, come the season, who knows? But the boot, like we all know, what comes with the boot, you're trying to keep something stable, and most people are saying it's a calf, and the calf issues, like we've seen in the NBA, leads to the Achilles. That's scary. That's scary.
Where I'm at, Dylan, right now is like, I'm not super worried about the boot necessarily. I'm not super worried about the shoulder necessarily. I'm not super worried about the sports hernia surgery that he had to have necessarily. All of these injuries in a vacuum to me are not that big a deal. But combined,
yeah, it's you have the thought of what's next.
Yes, because it becomes like, okay, there's one thing we know about injuries. It's like when you injure a certain, this, you played football. When you injure a certain part of your body, you are more susceptible to get that part injured again. Okay, so like one nasty hit in Baton Rouge, how do we know that shoulder is going to feel all right to finish the game?
Well, and it's not that. It's number one, it's mental, and then you tend to overcompensate with something else.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I don't disagree with that.
Like with we Hacker was producing a show, and I think we had somebody on. He was talking about, remember all the videos that were coming out, the Saturday practice. It might have been from 2 weeks ago, and someone made the point of like Lagway wasn't throwing off his back foot, and even though his deep balls were good, he's completing them. He wasn't throwing off his back foot and letting it rip. He was using more of his arm, like that. It's those little details, where it's his mental, and maybe the calf is still an issue, who knows? But it's those little details moving forward where, like I was talking about, where you have to overcompensate.
Yeah, I agree with all that, but okay. All that said, because we kind of focus on the injury part and the concerns and some of the negative stuff, can we finish on a high note and just talk about the positives? Dude, since Tim Tebow, we have not seen a quarterback in orange and blue this good. Not just this talented, this good. Right? Agree or disagree?
I agree. Talent. Anthony Richardson had the talent Will Greer didn't have this much hype, but I'm much more confident that DJ Lagway can perform as one of the best players in college football. I didn't have that feeling with Anthony Richardson.
The most productive since Tebow between now and then is obviously Trask, but Trask didn't give you the ceiling DJ Lagway. I mean, Dylan, we talked about it all last year at nauseum. This guy's deep ball is just one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen. It's like when he throws a deep ball, it looks like a video game where you adjusted the accuracy sliders to 100.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. I mean, receivers don't have to break half a step of stride. It is unbelievable. I've never seen in college someone hit dudes like that dead in the hands, like 60 yards down the field. It's unbelievable. Like, how is he this good? It's crazy. He's so good at football. I love it.
The thing that was crazy last year, he was a true freshman, man. Like, he came straight from high school.
He's a true freshman, Dylan. He's not old enough to drink.
And I mean, think about, like, we talked about what he did against Ole Miss on one leg, essentially. He couldn't run. And that Ole Miss defense had Walter Nolan, had Trey Amos, had Chris Paul Jr.,
Princely,
and I feel like I'm missing someone else. All guys that were drafted. And most of the guys, those guys were drafted before the 4th round. Like, those are guys that are going to be playing on NFL teams this year and be a player on those NFL teams. That's where, Florida hadn't had that before.
No. And if you just watch, like, it's one thing to, like, see that they won the games and everything, but, like, I mean, you and I watch, if we're not at the game together watching, like, we obviously watch every play of Gator football, just like pretty much everybody that's listening to this does. Some of the plays he made, man, I go back. There's 2 plays in particular that I think about. One in the LSU game, one in the Ole Miss game. And you could probably guess which plays I'm going to bring up. In the Ole Miss game, you and I were at that game together. It was either a 3rd and short or a 4th and short. And, bro, he made somebody miss, and he sidearmed that thing to who was there? Frazier. No, it wasn't DK. It was Frazier's who like never played. I think it was a senior last year, but he got that ball to him somehow with one leg, with people falling all over him. And I remember that play specifically because it happened. They get the first down. They were either in or near the red zone. It was an unbelievable play to keep the drive, and we end up scoring a touchdown on that drive. He completes it, and I remember because you and I were at the game together, I look at you, and you just go, you were like, how the hell, like, your face was like, how the hell did he just do that?
That's where you go, he's different.
Correct. That's when you know it's like, okay, there's everybody else, and then there's guys like this.
Yeah, well, because, I mean, the angle that we had, like, he was almost essentially, like, throwing the ball right at us.
Correct, yes. It was coming hard, yes. That's exactly right. And then the other play that I know you'll remember this one distinctly, and most people remember this one, against LSU, pockets caving in, he steps up, nails Badger right in the numbers. And he gets stopped at like the 1 yard line, going and score the next play. That throw was like 50 yards down the field, Dylan, and he threw it like it was a little dump off pass, right? Like it's so easy.
Well, the most impressive throw that he did, that Gator fans will know, but I don't think a lot of people know from around the country, is the play he had. Was it Sanford they played way early in the year? And he had that touchdown throw in the right corner of the end zone, right in front of the band.
His first start, and it was to Aiden Mizell.
Yeah.
I remember. Yep.
Yeah. Like Shane Matthews said, that might be one of the most impressive throws like I've ever seen in the stadium.
I mean, that was literally like if there was like a football size hole in the end zone, like he would have hit the hole.
Yeah.
Like it was that impressive. Like it's that the touch The arm strength is a lot of guys have arm strength. A lot of guys can launch it 70 yards. But his touch is I've never seen anything like it.
Well, and the thing about those 3 throws, the 2 you're talking about, and the one I'm talking about, one was both times he had to move in the pocket, and he had to make an incredible throw, and like 2 of the times he like left his feet. The other time, a defensive lineman was dragging on him, trying to pull him down. Like it's not
a lot of these throws he had one leg.
Yeah, and it's much different when you have a clean pocket and you can make a throw. I mean, there's a ton of D1 guys that can do that, but having that ability is insane, and you can't coach that.
No, it's very like it's weird though because I feel like we're the same age. We're both 27. Based on our age and like when we grew up watching Gator football and college football in general, but like obviously like Gator football was like kind of the main thing we were both watching. When we first kind of started understanding what was going on, that was Tebow and Percy and Spikes and Demps and Rainey, and it was all those boys, right? So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, when I was like a kid watching games, and I'm sure you felt the same way, I thought that was normal.
Mm-hmm.
I thought having that type of speed, having Tim Tebow, having somebody as elusive and as elite as Percy, like I thought that was just normal to have. And then when they left, there's been a talent, desert for 15 years. They've had talented players, but you get what I'm trying to say. So like seeing that now and understanding how rare it is now makes me just so ridiculously excited to watch DJ Lagway play football the rest of the year. I cannot wait. Like this is part of why the health concerns, everything we're talking about, because it's like, damn, if this guy can just play football consistently, it would be so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that college football needs to change, and who knows if it ever will. I mean, in the NFL, like you have members of the media at practice almost every day. You know what you have with injuries. You know what the team looks like. You know where their strengths are, their weaknesses. You know all that. In college, it's like no one knows absolutely anything about their team other than a spring game that's been long gone now.
Mm-hmm.
And you have no idea what you have up until week 1. And so only thing you can do as a fan or as members of the media is speculate on injuries and how everyone's going to look.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a box of chocolates, college football season.
Yeah. So
week 0 and 1.
So college football starts next week. They start over in Ireland. The game that Florida State Georgia Tech did last year is Kansas State, Iowa State. That game will be at noon, and there's a couple other games. Dan Mullen plays at 4. They play the great Idaho State. And, dude, we have ball in the air in 2 weeks from today. Like 2 weeks from today, College Game Day is on. And we'll be 30 minutes out from Texas and Ohio State.
Oh, we got ball 1 week from today. We got week 0 next week.
Yeah. Well, I'll be tuned in a little bit, but
tuned in a little bit.
Full slate.
You're not going to watch Dublin, Ireland?
Yeah, I'll tune in. But I mean, I'm not watching Stanford and Hawaii. I mean, come on, man.
Why not?
Son. You see this right here?
You don't love you some late night action?
For fans, football season starts in 2 weeks. See, your boy just got Yulee Inglewood film. So for about the next 8, I'm gonna spend about 8 hours this weekend breaking down this film.
Yeah.
And that's what I call watching football. And I got a drone shot. So I got 2 films that I can watch.
I got you.
So, and I, took a game in last night where we got beat. We were down 31-7 at the half, but we're not going to talk about that.
I'll be watching / betting on Stanford, Hawaii.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm a bet this year in college football or the NFL. I'm gonna have like a lot of money.
All right, we'll revisit that in a month.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of money in fantasy football. Yeah, I don't know, because I just lose money. I don't like losing money.
Yeah, I lose a lot of money betting, but it's for the love of the game.
Yeah, well, I'd rather look at what Nancy Pelosi's buying stocks in and just buy her stocks and then be a millionaire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
That's I like doing that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Yeah, we'll revisit that in a couple weeks whenever games are being played. I'm like, I got a lock here, Graham. All right, Graham. We gotta move on. When are we doing this next show?
We can do it next Saturday again if we want.
All right.
I feel like we're gonna be doing our shows like post game reactions and whatnot again, so we may as well just get in the groove of doing them on Saturdays anyway.
We're gonna be live on this YouTube channel. I mean, I know there's a couple people watching right now. We're gonna be live on this YouTube channel. I gotta change the title and all that because this was my personal YouTube channel. And then I'll probably create a Facebook page, and then we'll stream on Twitter. But we just want to get this thing up and rolling, and then go from here. So we appreciate everybody, Kenny and Travis and whoever was tuning in. So
the only quarterback I know that's more talented than DJ Lagway is Travis Gerald.
Yeah, Travis Gerald, quarterback. He was in a boot too not too long ago.
Yeah, what the hell, man? My quarterback's got to get out of boots, dude.
Yeah, I mean, blue collar man, you can't be walking around in a boot, dude. That's why I retired. I told you. I put my hand to cover a dude, and my thumb went haywire, and I couldn't even crank my damn car because my thumb was hurting for 2 months. I just golf now.
Bro, you're washed and ugly, dude.
Dude. No. That's why I don't have a life. I go to work, I coach ball, and
that's right.
Talk Gators and whatever.
That's right.
Talk gambling, talk ball. All right, Graham. I'll see you, man. Have a good weekend.
Peace.
Talk to you next week.